Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Adventures University. Last week we talked about how to make towns on the fly. This week we're going to talk about how to do that with criminal organizations. When I come up with my criminal organizations, or any organization for that matter, my methods tend to be a little less linear than when I do things like a town or a location, things like that. So the four things that I tend to focus on with criminal organizations, you can do it in the same way that I describe it. That's the order I usually use, but I'll sometimes start in different orders based on what I need at the time. And I recommend that if you follow these steps, that you do it in whatever way works best for you as well. So without further ado, let's jump in with who exactly are these people and what do they want? I usually start with some more specific people, like the person who started the organization, or at least the current head of the organization. Maybe a few other people that are decision makers, people who are important. And then I also look at the general uh, group, like who are members of this organization. My focus here is, especially with the people at large, less about like I need food on the table type thing, and more of what are their ambitions? What do they want from being here? I also want to know, like, are these hardened criminals or just people who want to make a difference in the world or people who are down their luck? But that's secondary, in my opinion, to what are the end goals. For example, did the person who created this criminal organization do so because they have ambitions for world domination? Do they just want a get rich quick scheme? Do they just want money? Do they do it because they actually have an agenda of some form? They want specific person to suffer, or like Count of Monte Cristo, it's not really a criminal organization that he runs. He just becomes rich and tries to ruin the life of the person who ruined his life. Uh, is it because of someone, did the person lose a loved one that they want to bring back from the dead, or take vengeance on the people who count them on Cristo again in that case, to make them suffer for taking his or her love away? And that's why my opinion is that the food on the table versus hardened criminals aspect is secondary, because who's joining? Why are they joining? Are they joining because they like doing this? The person who is doing this, they are a tyrant, enjoy inflicting pain, they would draw other people who also enjoy inflicting pain. Is this a revolutionary? It's not even a bad thing. It's a cause that they are trying to do, which is illegal. It's a criminal organization based on the uh, political powers currently, but they have a goal to bring justice or to change the system. It doesn't even have to be a good change. Revolutions happen all the time, depending on your point of view of the uh, communist takeover in Russia and China. Some people saw it as a good thing, other people saw it as a bad thing. So and also the French Revolution that is portrayed in Les Miserables, that was an illegal movement, and they were all just killed, both in the play, movie, and in real life. So that's kind of a side tangent, but the people who join the revolution, depending on the type of revolution it is, have their own goals and ambitions. And whether that's because, well, it's a terrible situation and we want to make it better, or I see an opportunity, I'm going to take advantage of it. Those are completely different things and play into who these people are and why they're doing this. What do they want? Whether it's money, food, power, that all plays into the primary initial, I want to control. I want to make things better. I want to make a difference, whether good or bad. So again, with that, I would start with the leaders, the people who started things going, maybe even make a few rules that they have in place. But that, again, kind of second or third step after you decide the people, especially if you're on a time crunch, you just need to know person A, B, C, and D. These are the people that are important, and this is the type of crew they have. They have a bunch of werewolves fighting for them because they were easy to pay and like to hurt things. That's the kind of people that we need. Or we don't take anyone who will hurt people unjustly. The Robin Hood type situation. We steal from the rich and give to the poor. He looked for certain classifications of people, the certain breed, not breed, uh, you know what I mean? He found certain people that followed his ideology. So uh, once you come up with the idea of it's a noble who saw the corruption of the king, he gathered a band of people who had like-minded ideas and began robbing from the rich and stealing or giving to the poor, then you have a basic premise of your criminal organization in that context. Or likewise, you want someone who wants to get rich. Well, there are many ways to get rich, but you're looking for criminal things. So let's say they're doing smuggling. So they find people who aren't, maybe not murderers, but people who aren't afraid of bending the laws. Who cares if this product is legal? And someone else is going to sell it, right? So the morally gray aspect. They may not be bad people. You just don't see why they see a benefit, a profit to be gained by just ignoring some of the more gray aspects of the law. And that's a perfect segue into the next thing I look at. What exactly do they do that makes them criminals? Are they thieves? Do they do smuggling? Do they run a protection racket? Are they assassins? Do they do slave trafficking? Are they revolutionaries or rebels of some form? Do they run gambling rings? There's a whole slew of things. Drugs is an easy one that you can just throw anywhere. Whether it's just an individual who just makes it in their basement, the meth lab or whatever you want it to be, the fantasy equivalent of, or real equivalent, whatever, uh, or is it a large cartel? It doesn't matter what. The what that, well, I guess it doesn't matter what. The what they do can make a big difference in how you present it and can also affect uh, the kind of people that join it. So typically it's a pretty easy thing to figure out. Just they're going to be a thieves guild. That's simple enough. But that also leads into the next thing that I look at is what is their method of practice. So you could have your thieves or assassins guild. You could have your shady business that just does gray area things or just straight up bad things in order to gain a profit. You could have a gang mentality, just like either a small street gang or large cartel. That it's the mentality. Mafia family, you could do that kind of thing. You have just a syndicate of powerful people. You can come up with all kinds of different things for that. Deciding the method can help with a lot of things, such as deciding how easy it is to, uh, for example, if you're running a game that you want your players to uh, encounter this group, are they going to be just out in the open? Is it a company that you want to foreshadow having things happen in the future? Is it a group of pickpockets that you just need to find one and they can tell you where the rest of the gang is? Is it a family who have rumors about the kind of things they do behind closed doors and there are these brutal wars between them and other groups, but there's nothing that can actually pin them down? So you can come up with all kinds of little story threads from this one as well. But another thing that does is it helps decide the scope. For example, if it's just a few pickpockets, that's kind of something that you just see in maybe a small town, maybe a bunch of pickpockets in a city, but you probably wouldn't have a guild or a anything super organized if you're out in the sticks, like the town of Brightwatch or whatever we named the town from our last video. Um, but you would find more organized organizations for thieving and smuggling if you're in large cities, especially trade cities, where it's a harder to look through all the cargo that comes and goes, and B, there's just a lot more business to be had. I'm a master thief. I'm not going to go to some poor shanty town in order to just rob them all blind. I mean, maybe some people get off on that, but uh, I'm going to put my talents where it's actually going to be useful and gain me a profit. Go to the place where it has banks and different locations where I can actually steal some things. Maybe a small pickpocket would go there because they don't have the talent to go to places where they have actual law enforcement and such. So that's the scope that we're looking at. The If you're going to a small town, you're probably going to find small people. Uh, Now, if there's a reason for a large organization to be out there, then yes, absolutely plant them there. And if you want something big in this small town, then you need to give them motivations, which leads us back to the people. So again, we kind of see this wibbly wobbliness of the order that you need to do this in. When you think of one, it leads to the other, which leads to this one, which goes back to that one, which goes back to the thing that you were talking about before. And so that's again why I say depending on what you want and need at the time. So let's say your adventuring party in D&D or Pathfinder or whatever you're playing at the time, they go to Brightwatch to explore this border town, and you just need criminal organization because one of the people has a stealing background, a thieving background, and they have an ability where they can reach out to the criminal organizations in the area. And you're like, I didn't come up with a criminal organization. Uh, well, you look around. Give me a dice roll. Write it down real quick as they're figuring things out. The first thing you need to figure out is what do they do in this situation, possibly. Uh, it's a small, we're going to say it's the military town of Brightwatch to watch for the people. Perhaps they're smugglers that bring in weapons. It's the black market. There's a specific type of weapon that isn't legal in this company or this country, but the military here utilizes that in order to fight the orcs in the woods. They uh, purchase from this black market smuggler. And you're able to discover that when you see hints of they did a really good check to think of who they're going to find here, and they pick up on little hints of this illegal weapon that is being used against the orcs. Say it's gunpowder or whatever, this new weapon that this country deems illegal. Uh, so you have this smuggling ring now. Uh, it probably doesn't need to be too big because the town probably actually likes it. Or maybe just the captain of the guard is approving it and it's using it in secret from the legal side of things, so the mayor and such. Or everyone's in it. But if you want to make it extra juicy, you can have the people kind of against each other, different factions, like the person who wants to do the right thing but needs to go. They don't have enough resources to do it without going through the illegal channels, and the person who also wants to do the right thing but doesn't understand the what needs to happen and is law of the land, etc. So in this scenario, the what do they do? The smuggling, black market is the first thing. Then maybe think of a scope. Like I said, it's not too big. They just have the one person that is the contact for the military, and then a few people that they have do runs to the other location. Establish it's on a river, perhaps for defensive reasons. So maybe it's a specific rafting company that goes up and down. They have contacts with some of them, and they will just bring a few boxes along with them. So there we go. We've got the scope. And that leads us right into the method. They are going through a company that doesn't care so much, or maybe it's the company that doesn't care. Maybe it's just the people that don't care. And that leads into the people who maybe just no one's getting hurt. It's helping people. We're just bending the law a little bit. As long as the authorities don't know that we're doing it, everyone's happy, right? Because they get weapons to help stop the orcs. The government gets to keep this town safe. Why should it matter that we're getting a little extra coin under the table for it? So that leads to the people motivations. And then there's that one person as well who's the front and is interacting with the voice. I can't remember what you call it. You can do this research as well. Maybe I can do this research later. I have a whole document on various job uh, things. Maybe I can do something for the criminal side of things too. Something for the works. Um, but yes, so this is an example of how you can quickly make a criminal organization for any situation needed. And if you have more time, definitely just sit down, work through the different things, come up with a name. If you're in a crunch, just Google a name generator for criminal organizations. Just scroll through it until you find that one you like. Um, but when you have the time for it, you can say, well, this assassinations guild is known as the Hook because they always catch something. Or maybe not Assassins Guild, a Thieves Guild. I don't know. uh, there are all kinds of different organizations that you can get the name ideas from. You can just go with a general, the Mafia type thing, or just call them the Mafia, the Yakuza. This is my world's version of the Yakuza. Um, but yeah, you can come up with all kinds of different names just online, or you can come up with something witty about what they do and why they do it. For example, I have a criminal organization that I call the Wet Maidens. My players gave me some very uh, hard time about that name. For a while, they're children. Uh, they but it was a all women's organization that worked in a lake town, a community that was around a lake. So they called themselves the Wet Maidens or the Lake Maidens, um, and they that was their name. And so people knew that they were all women, but that was largely it. There were a few people that were suspected, but so but they would occasionally hire out men because now that they've established this reputation of being only women, when they send out the occasional man, they can go under the radar. So, a bit of tactics and stuff there. So, but yeah. And this was a quick build guide. But as with anything, more time gives you more time to come up with more material. Uh, you can definitely say, well, this is going to be a branch for a large crime syndicate where the people are out for revenge, but you don't need to come up with the exact reasons for those uh, vendettas or who these powerful people are pulling the strings yet. You just know that there is a plot and there's someone here who's just the front man who's the one who's having the strings pulled. So you can quickly come up with those kind of things on the fly for whatever you need at the time. And then later when you have more opportunities to sit down and actually plot these things out, you have that and you can just branch out. But that's all I have for you today. If you liked what you saw today, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, the two buttons, and please hit that notification bell if you want to see when I make more videos in the future. And leave a comment down below. I'd like to see your ideas for a criminal organization. What have you made that you were proud of and you were able to either show your players or used in a story that you were writing? And I really want to thank all of my subscribers and all the people who support me over on Patreon. Because without that, I wouldn't have the time to do this and help all of you with your world building and making better experiences for your games and stories and whatever else that you're doing. Uh, and speaking of which, if you want to check out my video on how to make a quick build guide for towns, check out my channel. I've got a few other videos there as well that you may be interested in. So until next time, have fun.